Are you someone who's struggling to make sense of your 20s? Do you need advice on what to do or what not to do? Then watch this video to find out more. Hi my love bugs and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ruby Dal. I am an author and a content creator. I write about self-help, healing, self-love, relationships, heartbreak, grief, moving on, mental health and so much more. I've published 5 books of poetry, prose and bite-sized self-help, and my most recent book, Between Us, is available to order from the link below in the captions. Now, I'm not someone who's already past my 20s. I am quite young, I guess, still, so I'm not going to speak about my 20s in hindsight. I'm not going to be someone who says, oh, this is what I learned in my 20s now that I am a decade older. I am still just 26 years old, although quite close to 30 now, and I'm going to give you advice and I'm going to give you information based on what I've learned and my lived experiences over the last few years. Our 20s are absolutely incredible. It's a time of immense growth, but it's also a time where you're going to take some of the most amazing adventures of your life. You'll make friends, you'll lose old friends, you might break your heart, you might get a new job, or you might lose a job, break your heart, lose your friends and have to start all over again. And this is a time in life where lots of people are starting anew, lots of people are settling down, lots of people are now saying, okay, I think I've started to find myself now, and a lot of people are saying, okay, I've done everything that I wanted to, I've had all the fun, and now's the time for me to have a family. Neither is wrong in their respect. It's a crazy decade in our lives and one that no one prepares us for. We don't really know what's going to happen when we get here, and we don't know how to find our way around. Some of us think that we need to start being responsible the moment that we hit our 20s, and others think, you know, we're still young, we don't need to be responsible just yet. This is the time to have fun. I've got friends who got married and have kids by now. The fact that we don't speak is a different topic altogether, but the people that I knew in my early 20s have either settled down, or they're engaged, or they're married, or they're doing things that kind of root them in place, that give them a foundation. Whereas I'm still soaring my wings, I'm still trying to figure myself out, I'm still trying to see who I am and what I want to be. In the same way, I've got friends who've started new businesses, who've moved countries to start their life all over again. Friends who are still finding themselves, friends who want to go traveling and be inspired in different ways. So based on all this different kind of experience that I see around me, as well as my own experience, and this fluorescent array of the way that people have approached their 20s, what nuggets of wisdom do I have for you regarding my 20s? Number 1, you have all the time in the world. Often we see our 20s as an hourglass where if we haven't secured that particular goal or that job, bagged that relationship, or had those invisible children that don't exist yet, then somehow we're falling behind everyone else and we haven't really made it. Well, let me tell you one thing very clearly. You have all the time in the world. Your 20s aren't about finding your roots and settling down in one place. They're about spreading your wings. They're about flying. They're about soaring. Your 20s are about letting yourself fly and be free. They're not about rooting yourself and building a foundation from the get-go. Stop telling yourself that you're running out of time and start enjoying the youth that you have right now, and just let go. Enjoy everything that you want without feeling guilty about it. Go to that party, take that holiday, leave that job if you want to. Do what your heart tells you, because your 20s are about experiencing everything and learning and growing from it. Your 20s are probably that golden period in your life where you can pack your bags and take all your things with you and move to a different country for 5 years without the crippling responsibilities of marriage, a relationship, children and so on. So make use of this time. You're not running out of it. Number 2. Only a few of your friendships will last. The amazing thing about being in your 20s is the amount of experiences that you will have and the number of new people that you will meet. This means that you're going to meet so many new people and make new friends that are interested in the kind of things that 18-year-old you might not have been interested in, like art, culture, music, spoken word poetry, holidays, trips, festivals. You just don't know. You just don't know what's going to be around the corner, because the more experiences you have, the more friends you'll make. And as your experiences grow richer, so will the amount of people that you know and the kind of people that you know. Now, a negative consequence of this, I don't necessarily see it as negative as such, but one consequence of this is that as you grow and as you change and your interests change and the person that you are, molds and bends over time, you are very likely to lose the friends that you made either in your teenage years or in your early 20s. Just know that you can't force friendship, and not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever, especially when you go through immense change, which is what your 20s bring about. The best thing you can do is make the memories, cherish the history, and move on and enjoy the new experiences and rich adventures that new people bring in your life. Number 3, stop comparing yourself to others. This is perhaps a life changer for me. This is something that really, really transformed my 20s for me and allowed me to embrace them to the fullest extent. Now, we can blame social media for it, for a large part of it, but I feel like we are to blame to a point as well. When I turned 21, I wrote a number of goals that I wanted to achieve. One of those goals was to be a writer, one of those goals was to be happy, another of those goals was to just, take as many adventures as I possibly could. I can happily say that I crossed these goals, but in the pursuit of getting to these goals and achieving these goals, I often found myself comparing myself to other people. For instance, my goals were to, become an author, my goals were to be happy, my goals were to travel and take adventures. But for some reason, the older that I got, the more I started comparing myself to the pedestals that other people achieved, such as of marriage, of children, of settling down. And even though these weren't goals that I wanted for myself, like these weren't the things that I saw myself achieving at that particular age, I still felt bad about it. I still felt like I wasn't achieving what I deserved, or I wasn't achieving enough because other people were achieving other things and perhaps I should have been achieving those instead. So this comparison was the worst because I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted from life. I knew how I wanted to get there, but I still found myself comparing myself to the achievements and pedestals of others. So the most important thing that I would say to you in terms of your 20s is to ask yourself what you want to achieve. Ask yourself, what goals would you like? Ask yourself where you would like to see yourself in 5 years' time. Would you like to be, happy, adventuring? Would you like to be in a different country? Would you like to be married? Whatever it is, put those goals down on a piece of paper and just focus on those. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Don't worry about whether they've achieved a particular goal that wasn't even on your list to begin with, and stop making yourself feel bad about it. And maybe people are achieving the particular goals that you want. Maybe I wanted to be a best-selling author and there was someone else who achieved that before I did at an age much younger than mine. But still, comparing my journey to that particular person just didn't make sense. I would have never been able to write that book, perform that poetry piece, or finish that novel because that novel was never meant for me to complete in the first place. It was very particular to their experience and to their journey. So comparing my goals to theirs just didn't make sense. And the moment that I understood this, I was so much happier with the journey that I was taking and the goals that I was achieving. Number 4. Relationships matter so much more than goals. This particular one kicked me in the face. At the age of 26, I can say that I'm very, very different to the person that I was when I was 21 or 22. Not because of the goals that I achieved or the dreams that I had, but the fact that I value relationships so much more now. So in 2018, I had a book launch for my second book, A Handful of Stars. And it was perhaps one of the most beautiful evenings of my life. Like, I had so much fun, I enjoyed myself, and it was a really, really beautiful evening. And when I look back to it, I don't remember being so happy because of the fact that I published my second book. That was a great achievement. But I was so happy because I was surrounded by my family and my closest and dearest friends and people who just came together to celebrate that evening. I was happy because I felt loved, I felt secure, I was in a comfortable environment sharing my art with the people that I loved and cared about the most. And a lot of the time, in chasing our goals and dreams or just finding ourselves, we tend to push away the people that care about us and would do anything for us. The people who would be so happy in our happiness and would help us in an instant if we asked them to. And that's when you realize what matters the most. It's not the goals themselves, but it's the satisfaction that you receive when you tell your best friend that you achieved something, or the proud smile on your parents' face when they realize that you've done something that makes you so happy. It's not about the goals themselves, but about the celebration celebration of those goals. It's about feeling like you've done something, but the people around you are happy about it just as much as you are. So in this decade of your life, as you chase your goals and try to find yourself, make sure that you invest the invaluable time that you need to in the people that you care about and love. People who you don't really see tomorrow existing without. Because there's no point in success if there's nobody to share it with. Number 5. Happiness and pain are both temporary. Perhaps one of the most important lessons that I've learned is that living a happy life doesn't always mean being in a constant state of happiness. It doesn't mean that I'm constantly in that euphoric state of glee and joy all the time. That's not what a happy life is about. In the same way, being in pain doesn't mean that I'm always going to feel that way. It's a mixture of both. A happy life is a mixture of a balance between the happy and the sad. Knowing that both happiness and pain are temporary is the key to making the most of your 20s. Now, when you're 21 and you're heartbroken and you are in immense pain, you don't really think you're ever going to come through from it. You don't think you're going to see a day when it doesn't hurt as much as it does right now. You don't think you're ever going to smile or be truly happy again. But I promise you, you will. The biggest thing about being in your 20s and changing and growing is that you become a whole new version of yourself. This means that the pain will slowly fade away, experiences will teach you new things, and the people that you meet will teach you a new way of loving and being happy. But this also means that you need to stop living your life constantly chasing this particular high and assuming that you're going to feel that euphoric all the time. In your 20s, you learn that there are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days, and both the good and bad days are what makes a happy and consistent life. Number 6. Stop being afraid of the world. Often we spend our 20s in fear that people are going to judge what we think. They're constantly looking at our decisions and our choices, and the moment that we make a mistake, that's it. The gossiping starts and the people start talking about you in a bad way. This stops us from doing things that we really want to do. This stops us from taking those particular risks. This stops us from making those mistakes or, just learning from those mistakes as much as we want to, because we're constantly scared about what other people are going to say or think. Let me just tell you one thing. Nobody cares about what you have to do. Now, I don't mean it in a bitter way. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm not saying that you don't matter, because the people who care about you will be there. But what I'm saying is that nobody is as concerned about you as you think that they are. This means that you can get away with doing some crazy things and not having a care in the world about whether people will judge you for it. For instance, creating an Instagram page at the age of 21 and writing about heartbreak and healing and putting your rawest, deepest feelings out for the whole world to see, including the people from your community and everyone that you've known growing up, and not having a care in the world about what they're going to think and what they're going to say. The one thing I've learned over the last 5 or 6 years is that people will talk bad anyway. And even if they talk bad about you, let me just tell you that you don't matter to them in the way that you think that you do. So even if they talk bad about you, it doesn't mean that they care about you or they sit there just constantly, wondering about what you're doing. They really don't. The way that you're losing sleep over whether other people are going to judge you, I promise you, they don't lose sleep over what you do. So why should you let it get to you? Why should you not make those mistakes, not take those risks, not jump off that plane if you want to, for fear that, you're going to be spoken about for a short while? Yeah, maybe you're going to be a pastime for them, when they get together with their friends and have a little bit of gossip, but that should not have any impact on your self-worth. And if you're still not convinced, then ask yourself, do you lose sleep over other people's successes? Do you lose sleep over their family, over their friends, over them finding love? Does it really concern you when someone else fails? Do you care? If you don't care about what the people are doing with their life, then trust me, put yourself in their shoes, because they do not care about you in the same way either. Focus on the people that care about you. Focus on, your close friends and your family. Take their advice and opinions, but the rest of the world, screw them. And once you are able to believe that, go ahead and have some crazy wild adventures, take risks, and do what you want to. Number 7, no one knows what they're doing. I promise you, this is something that I have realized over the last few years, that nobody knows what they are doing. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I know exactly what I'm doing in my life. I am so sorted. I am so, organized and fixed, and I've got it all together. It doesn't work like that. I ask myself at least once a month what I'm doing with my life, you know? I often get lost and I'm like, I don't know where I'm headed. I don't know, you know, what's going on. And then I have to detach myself, you know, get some sleep, read a book, go on a walk to kind of get back into reality. But that still doesn't mean that I don't wake up the next day and I'm still a bit disoriented. The idea that, you know, when we're 15 years old, we need to decide what we want to do for our GCSEs, figure out our A-levels, and then know what we want to do for university at 18, something that's going to perhaps, you know, decide where our life goes for the next 10 years or so, it's a complete myth. It's crazy. How can you expect someone at 18 to know what they want to do? How can you expect someone at 16 or 17 to be able to make that decision? It's just not possible, right? And often we do make mistakes. You know, often you might do a degree that you don't want to do. Maybe you don't want to go to university, and maybe you end up getting a job and then you realize at 21 that you should have gone. And it's completely fine. Our 20s are about learning who we are, about learning what we really want to do with our lives, and kind of rectifying the mistakes that we made when we were teenagers, when we didn't know what we wanted, how we wanted to achieve it, and just what we were doing. So in your 20s, it's not about having a direct, you know, path and being completely organized and saying, yeah, I know exactly what I want to do. It's about figuring it out. It's about learning more about yourself. And if it means backtracking the last, you know, 4 or 5 years and starting all over again, that's completely okay as well. And that's why in your 20s, there are going to be so many people who are going to change their career paths, go back to university, leave university, get out of a relationship, get into a relationship, get married, leave countries, go traveling. There's going to be so many people who are going to completely change their lives around, not because they know what they want to do now, but because they're trying to figure it out, because they're trying to learn, they're trying to, you know, come to grasp with who they are. So your 20s are all about growing, they're all about learning, they're all about coming to grips with who you are and who you can become. They're not about having a fixed mindset. They're not about, you know, telling yourself, yep, I know exactly who I am now, I know exactly what I want from life, and, you know, this is all sorted. That's not what your 20s are about. Your 20s are about making mistakes and learning from them. Your 20s are about changing your life completely, taking a couple of jobs, taking a couple of courses, you know, jumping from job to job, jumping from career to career. It's absolutely fine. It's all about taking each day as it comes. Your 20s are not meant to be about, you know, waking up in the morning and saying, I know exactly who I am and I have figured it all out. They're about waking up each morning and saying, okay, yesterday was difficult, today might be easier, but even if it isn't, I'm ready. I'm ready for the adventure and I'm ready for the journey. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I truly hope that you benefited from it and got something useful out of it. If you liked the video, please like, comment and subscribe. Please share, and please let me know if you would like to watch a video like this again or something else. Please let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all next week. Adios. My own experiences in this kaleidoscopic